A lot of things you can do here. Look for Leo on that far side, a little clip ball from Childs as Leo tries to make his way to the back post. Goal! San Diego!
Happy Monday, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. This is MASL Monday. I'm Alex Bastivansky, bringing you all the best from the Major Arena Soccer League on Sirius XMFC Channel 157 and on MASL TV. And today I have got the man, the legend, the play-by-play extraordinaire for the San Diego Sockers, two-time defending MASL champions. It's quite the intro. I haven't even gotten to your name yet, for crying out loud. Craig Elston joining me here from San Diego. How you doing, Craig?
Oh, it's misting here again, Alex. I keep asking for my San Diego discount back. We pay for the good weather. It's been like 8 straight weeks with at least one rainstorm. So into every life of sunshine, a little rain must fall. But we are doing absolutely tremendous out here, especially after picking up 6 big points this weekend and the MASL Shield.
As someone who lives in Vancouver, Canada, on the West Coast, in the Pacific Northwest, I have zero sympathy for you and your one day of rain. Okay, so no, San Diego oh man, you guys get so much sunshine, and I am jealous. But let's talk about your Sockers and the weekend that you guys had two great games, super exciting games against two Western rivals. Let's start with the game against Monterey. It was a 6-4 win, but man, they made you work for it. Take us through what went down in the contest and the horrible first half that you guys had.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, Alex, and it's one of the great things about being associated with the Major Arena Soccer League is you'll get some answers to questions that are more honest than you'll find in any other professional league. And that happened on Friday night because, as you mentioned, the Sockers came out, trailed 3-0. Monterey, give them all the credit in the world. The Flash were hungry. They were fast to the ball. They were very decisive with their actions. And they have a deeply veteran team. They started 5 players over 40 in that starting lineup that night.
Only in arena soccer, my friend. Only in arena soccer do you get the players aging like a fine wine. Right where you can do that.
Incredible stuff.
Yeah.
And so, Phil Salvaggio at halftime saying, the team has no heart right now. They need to show their character.
Coach, it's always a battle between these two teams. Why is Monterey shutting you out?
Because we have no heart at this moment right now. We got to show some character, and we got to come back in the second half.
After the match, Captain Craig Childs says, "Oh, we knew this first half was going to be bad." And here's the thing. It's kind of a funny thing. The Sockers never get to train at Pechanga Arena. Like, they never get to train at Pechanga Arena. They're always training at a smaller outdoor field up in North County. And they got the chance this last week to train 3 straight nights at Pechanga Arena leading up to the weekend's matches. And in the captain's words, they overtrained. They worked too hard. During the week, they ground it out too much, trying to squeeze every minute out of their time on the training floor. And so they had no legs at the start of Friday's match. They came out heavy-legged. Yeah, right? So as a result of being a heavy-legged team with a little bit less of a spark, they're down 3-0, but they found their legs. They kept their composure. It was, in Phil's words afterwards, a very calm, clinical locker room. No one was screaming at each other. And then they come out and they win the second half, almost 6 unanswered goals until a very late goal against 6.
That is such a Sockers thing, isn't it? These guys have been together, most of them, for so long. They know each other so well. They are consummate professionals, and they don't seem to ever get rattled, this team.
Not often. I mean, that's what I think made that loss up in Ontario back in February so surprising. In terms of, you really did see a team that got rattled and kind of fell apart in the second half. And then they had a couple other poor second halves to follow. And you started to think, does this team have the emotional fortitude that we've seen forged through back-to-back championships? Is it wavering in any way? Well, I think this weekend really showed it because the script flipped. Teams came in really ferocious, determined, playing for their playoff lives, and put the Sockers on the back foot at halftime. And they came out and, in each case, last Sunday night, it was 6 unanswered goals to end the match. And Friday, it was 6 straight goals before a very late score. So Sockers find it, grab onto it, and never let go.
Let's talk about that game last night, because it was against Empire, who has emerged. I mean, they've always been a rival, but I can't remember who it was on one of the previous shows that said they've been like a little brother that you guys just kind of kick around from time to time, a Southern California rival. But they have really obviously come on strong this year. They are a legitimate threat to win the entire thing. And you guys played a fantastic close game last week in Ontario, and they were taking it to, well, not taking it to you, but man, it was close. They were up 3-2 on you guys. Then you came on strong in the second half, the Sockers did. But talk about that contest last night, and man, it was a spicy meatball at times, wasn't it? It got real intense out there on the floor.
It felt like a finals match. I mean, it really did, in terms of the level of dedication the players had on the field to try and get that result by any means necessary. We saw a level of physicality in the match that is way above the average of the MASL. I mean, I watch a lot of Major Arena Soccer League action, and this was, 2x, 3x.
And that is saying something, Craig, but that is saying something, because we know how physical this league can be. And we know with the blood in the glass, how stuff can quickly go wrong. You got to be careful out there. You got to play on the edge, but there's a fine line there. But for you to say the last night's game was exceptionally physical, that's saying something.
Yeah, and it's the nature of this series now. There's big guys on both sides. There's a level of dislike between these two franchises on the field. I want to make that very clear, on the field. No animus between the front offices, everyone working in concert. We want to see indoor soccer grow and thrive in Southern California. We want to see 2 strong franchises here in Southern California. I always want to make sure I say that, because people take this stuff personally, and they take it and they twist it in certain ways. I'm a spokesperson for the team, but I'm also a member of our front office. So I just really want to make that clear. But on the field, I mean, it's also clear. It drifts into disrespect, what's happening between these two teams, and it really goes both ways. And as a result, you get matches like this, and while club level, you can dissect it and say, where do we need to hold our emotions? Where do we need to find that line? If you're a fan, this is what you are here to see. You're here to see Ohio State, Michigan, but in the indoor soccer world, where it doesn't matter what the record is, this match matters. Like Friday, the Sockers and Strikers will play one more time. The Sockers have clinched the Shield. Some teams would roll out a lineup of all rookies and soccer twos for the next 4 minutes. They're going to play that one like it's the finals again.
Keeping their foot on the gas. Yeah.
Because it's Empire. Because you don't want to give them an inch. Because look what happened when you came in one time relaxed. You lost 10-4. So, there's a lot of respect within the anger and the on-field antics, because it's a respect of this team comes to play. They've got a style that matches up at least a little bit with us and leads to some really close, exciting, fun matches.
Real quick comment. Craig Childs was just insane again last night. First star in the game. He's one of the guys who really got the comeback going. Beautiful goal. Great assist right afterwards. The captain that just keeps on getting it done.
And I know he won't win MVP. He won't be a finalist for MVP, but no one has led their team better than Craig Childs this year. And I would point everyone to our Soccer's Overtime show that came in between the Mesquite and the Mexico matches on the road trip back in February, when the Sockers had lost, suffered some suspensions, really felt hard done by what happened, both from the opponent and the officials in the league. And Craig came on the show and just spit fire from a leadership standpoint, saying, hey, it doesn't matter if we're the 5th seed. We've gone on the road and played a full road season and won the cup before. We will go anywhere. We'll play any style. And if you want to come after us physically, the whole team will be there to back up our players. And since that game, go look it up, man. I believe it's now 17 points for Craig Childs. He's been multi-point every single game, always in there either for the first goal or the key goal, the go-ahead goal. Childs has been absolutely dynamic,
Yes.
showing once again why he is a Hall of Fame player.
We have to move on to the rest of the West, but just one comment because you did bring it up. Supporter Shield, second season in a row for San Diego. At the beginning of the year, I mean, you'll have teams that'll say, no, we just take every game day by day. The most important thing is, we wanted the championship at the end of the year. But would you say for this squad, was that something that was a goal at the beginning of the season to win it for a second year in a row?
Well, here's why. Because the Shield brings home field advantage throughout the Ron Newman Cup playoffs. With last night's win, Alex, the Sockers are now 77-6-1 all-time at home in the MASL. They have the best home record in the MASL. People always talk about, Chihuahua, Baltimore, the best home field. San Diego is now 77-7 all-time at home. So when the playoffs run through San Diego, then a championship usually follows, and that's why you want to win the Shield.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk quickly about Tacoma facing Mesquite. Just what the hell is going on with Mesquite? Tacoma, I love the Stars. They are, I believe that if they were in the Eastern Conference, their record would be a heck of a lot better because they play the West so much, and the West is definitely the more power of the two conferences this year. But Tacoma is not a powerhouse team this season, but they host Mesquite and they win 13-1. 13-1 over a Mesquite team that's now fighting for its playoff life. They have something to play for. What happened, Craig?
Well, first I want to praise the Stars because Nick Pereira is playing at the top of his game. Apparently has shed some professional distraction. He left his position after winning a championship as GM of OL Reign in the NWSL. He's over 50 points. He's doing great. He's going to win Passmaster this year. Jamel Cox is playing
this weekend, by the way. For Nick.
Yeah, just
unreal.
He keeps going. He keeps going. And Nick is like Frank Taillou. If you don't guard him, he's going to score points. It's really straightforward. But Jamel Cox is also playing at the best level of his career, and Danny's getting it done. At the age he is, he's starting every single game and playing great. So Tacoma's got a ton of helium right now, my friend. Mesquite going the opposite direction. Get this: in their last 4 road matches, the Mesquite Outlaws have been outscored 39-8. So they're not just losing, they're getting humiliated on the road. And as you look forward, and I know we'll do a lot more of it, the Outlaws are in real danger of being on the outside looking in when the playoffs are set.
They were such a good story to begin the season. The return of Mesquite, the Dallas Derby once again. First season since 2019-20, of course, the COVID-shortened season. Back in 2020, it was a great story. But right now, we're going to look at the standings in a moment here. And they are in trouble. They lost. The second game was a 6-3 final for Tacoma on Sunday. Let's take a look at the standings here. And for the benefit of those listening on Sirius XM, we'll go through it quickly for you. In the West, San Diego, first place, guaranteed now, followed by Chihuahua, then Empire, Mesquite, Monterey, Tacoma, and Dallas. But Craig, looking at Tacoma in 6th, only 3 points separating themselves, and 4th, Mesquite. Of course, that 5th spot is also important because that's what gets you into the playoff playdown. But so they're chasing Monterey, but by the looks of things, you're thinking there's a pretty good chance that Tacoma and Mesquite will swap. Tacoma not necessarily 4th, but in terms of getting in for that last playoff spot.
Alex, it's great to be on this week's show because I described on the broadcast this weekend as moving weekend in the MASL, similar to moving day at a major, the Saturday at a major when the leaderboard really gets set. And that's what happened this weekend. Tacoma winning twice over Mesquite was one of the biggest sets of results that we've seen in the entire league this year. So was Monterey winning over Chihuahua at home, reestablishing their position. So now you look at it, Chihuahua's set for second place. They've got 2 home matches remaining. They are a fortress at home and get points out of almost every single match. So you can pencil in Chihuahua for second place, guaranteed. Empire is in third. Their remaining schedule, they play us again on Friday. If they lose that match, now they've lost 4 in a row, and they host Tacoma the following week before going to Mesquite. The one thing about the Outlaws, they play a completely different game on the lumpy bumpy field at Mesquite Arena, where they are able to slow the game down and hold the score down. So that Empire Tacoma game is huge because Tacoma's got Dallas back-to-back this weekend, right in the 6 points.
4 games left for Tacoma, 2 of them against Dallas. Not trying to knock the sidekicks because, man, I love the Dallas green, but it's a rough season, obviously. Winless so far. So 2 of the games against Dallas, 1 against Empire, 1 against San Diego. So it will be interesting to see down the stretch if Tacoma can pull it off and Mesquite, if they will rise to the occasion or not. Let's switch to the Eastern Conference. And before we do, just a reminder to everyone, you are listening to MASL Monday on Sirius XMFC channel 157 every Monday. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Getting my times mixed up here, Craig, for crying out loud.
Oh, but now it's daylight savings time, but not in Mexico. It's so confusing.
Not for much longer,
hopefully.
Not for much longer, hopefully, with the whole daylight saving things. We'll see about that. But on MASL TV, on YouTube, on Twitch, just a reminder, you can watch all MASL games live and archived on Twitch if you want to get the visual for all the things that we are talking about today. Let's switch to the East. I mean, we're going to run through this somewhat quickly because it's just the East is just absolutely blowing my mind this season. There's not one team that's coming forward and saying, I want it. You know, I mean, I'm sure you want it, but you're not getting it done. It's from week to week. Anyone can beat anyone, as we saw again this weekend with Harrisburg picking up a win, which we'll get to in a second. Milwaukee won both its games this weekend against Dallas, though, which they were expected to do. So they knock off Dallas. They scored 25 goals in 2 games. They now have a 4-point lead over Baltimore for top spot in the East. The interesting team for me in the East this weekend was St. Louis, who just last weekend, Ray from Utica and I were not entirely writing off, but saying, it's going to be tough. You know, sort of that Dumb and Dumber, 1 in a million. So you're saying there's a chance, but we didn't think it wasn't looking good. Now they come back. They win both their games on the weekend, including against Florida, a dramatic overtime win, and they are right back in the playoff picture, only 4 points out of the last playoff spot.
Great finish for the Ambush home season at Family Arena. Exciting finish to wrap up with that OT win, very low-scoring win over Florida. Another example of road points dropped in the Eastern Conference, which is just the story of the season. Essentially, home team wins in the East 9 out of 10 times, if not more. To me, what you just witnessed this weekend, Alex, is known as the dead cat bounce, because the final 3 matches for St. Louis are at Milwaukee, at Florida, and the Ambush are 1-7-1 on the road this season with really poor performance and form. So I frankly expect St. Louis to lose out and to finish at 25 points, and that will allow Kansas City to kind of shrug their way over the goal line into the play-in match. They've got 2 matches left, a home and home with Harrisburg, a team they should control. But anytime Kansas City leaves the greater Kansas City limits, they lose all their superpower as a club or really ability to function. So I think they'll be lucky to get in.
Well, so Kansas City, 2 games this weekend, they lost both. Florida, 6-4. Ricardo Dieguez picking up 2 goals, first start of that game, and then the Blast taking down Kansas City 7-4, and William Van Zela first start in that contest for the Blast. 2 wins in the last 7 for the KC Comets, and you see them as being very vulnerable right now. You bring up Harrisburg, which is their last 2 games of the season, but Harrisburg, as we mentioned last week, and I keep saying on this show, teams cannot afford to take the heat lightly. Lightly. They have got something to play for. They're playing for pride. They love to be the spoiler. Absolutely love it. We saw them do it against St. Louis last weekend. And let's just talk about the Utica game, because they take down Utica City in overtime, 5-4. Harrisburg getting it done.
And in doing so, I believe they avoid setting the MASL record for consecutive road losses. They'll wind up tying that record. Huge result. Hey, look, Harrisburg was an unfortunate conduit through the entire Florida Tropics Zach Reggett Taylor Bond controversy that happened earlier in the year. And it really was tough for their franchise. But in the end, with the subsequent trade to Kansas City, they wound up now, I think, with a group of guys that want to play together, and they're playing together hard at the end of the year. It's encouraging for next season at the least.
It absolutely is. Let's take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. And for those listening on SiriusXM, I will run through it for you. It's Milwaukee in first place. They have clinched a spot in the playoffs. Baltimore in second, 4 points behind right now. Florida just a point behind Baltimore in third. Utica City in fourth with 31 points. Kansas City holding on to that last spot right now, fifth place with 29 points. St. Louis trying to chase them down, 25 points, but they do have a game in hand as well, Craig, which is interesting. And Harrisburg just 15 points on the season, but as mentioned, they are chugging away the little train that could. They will shock you if you do not take them seriously.
When I analyze the combination of points, possible points remaining, and schedule remaining, the team that I really think you have to put a circle around
list.
now.
Show us your list, Craig.
Craig absolutely.
Craig did.
I stayed up very late.
Stayed up late last night after the game doing these amazing notes. He's so prepared for the show. A true professional. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Well, no problem. Milwaukee's at 39 points. They host St. Louis. They should get to 42. Then you've got at San Diego. If they lose that match, at Harrisburg to wrap up the season winds up being potentially very important points, because keep that number in mind, 42. Florida has the clearest path of anyone in the East to 43 points. They have 9 remaining points to gain, and they host Utica, St. Louis to wrap up the season. If they can clear 3 home wins, Florida can get to 43 points very easily. Baltimore can get to 44, but they have 2 road matches left out of 3, and the Blast have been a shell of themselves away from the baby arena on the basketball court at Towson University. So at Mesquite next weekend becomes a gigantic result potentially for Baltimore. If Mesquite pulls a result out of that match, Baltimore's chance to host a round of the playoffs starts to become really bleak.
Let's take this in because we've got about 5 minutes left or so in the show here. Let's look at your power rankings. Dallas at 14, and we'll just kindly say that if you could have had them lower than that, you would have put them lower, I think is the nice way of saying that, correct? From what you wrote.
If you saw the Ted Lasso premiere for season 3, it's Nathan Shelley saying, well, why were they picked 20th? Well,
there's no 21st.
21st, because you can't pick them 21st. But I will give them credit. I will just say this. They did send Blas Perez on the road to Milwaukee. It led to a more competitive match. They didn't do that the previous weekend when they had a chance. I just want to see the Sidekicks put their best team on the floor. But they've allowed 184 goals this year. Alex, that's 37 more than the second worst team, Utica. And Utica has 2 more matches played than Dallas. So remarkable bad defense.
It's bad, and we don't want to kick Dallas while they're down. It's been a tough season. I really want the Sidekicks to at least get 1 win before the season is over. Okay, so 13, you've got Harrisburg. 12, you've got St. Louis. You've got Mesquite all the way down at number 11, which is a pretty good indication of what you think about the Outlaws, the way they're finishing out the season.
Yeah, I think they have a real chance to lose out. And, you know, the home field is a big deal for Mesquite, but their form is really, really poor. And really, since that February 18th match against San Diego, their form has totally fallen apart.
Yeah, it's been a rough ride. Like I said, too bad because they were such a good story this season, the way things started off. KC at number 10, Utica number 9. Tacoma at number 8. I will ask you the question quickly. Do you think that their records, it's rough looking at their record? Is it just a matter of being in the Western Conference? Are they a bit better than their record indicate?
Well, I'll say this, Alex. The toughest decision I had in putting these power rankings together was whether to put Tacoma 8th or to put Tacoma 5th ahead of all of the Eastern Conference leaders. I truly think any of the top 4 teams in the West will win the Ron Newman Cup if they get to the finals. And the question was, could Tacoma do it if they had to play a road series at Baltimore or a road series at Milwaukee? And that's where I wavered, and I went ahead and gave the edge to the trio that's at the top of the East.
Okay, Florida at number 7, Baltimore number 6, Milwaukee number 5. That is your highest East team. Monterey at 4, Empire at 3. You've stuck with Chihuahua at number 2, and your Sockers at number 1, which is, you can't argue with that right now. Nobody can really argue with San Diego at number 1. After that insane 30-game unbeaten streak came to an end and they lost 2 of 4, you want to get those losses out of the way before the playoff starts. It's sort of like a little, okay, we've lost. The streak is over. Let's start a new one. And they have 6 wins in a row for the juggernaut that is the San Diego Sockers. Let's, as we close out the show here, let's talk about your goal of the week and your moment of the week. Let's start with your goal. Which one was it?
Well, I'm going to go back to our home team, the Sockers, on Friday night against Monterey. And this is a perfect example of both team soccer and unselfishness, which are 2 hallmarks of the San Diego offense. Tavoy Morgan in a real goal-scoring slump. But in the run of this play, he hadn't scored a goal since February 18th. Doesn't go for the selfish play, makes the creative back heel to Felipe Gonzalez. Pure team soccer, started by rookie Luis Perez, who's wedged his way into the lineup. Great goal, great example of what beautiful indoor soccer looks like.
Absolutely gorgeous goal. I will take Jesus Pacheco of Empire going bar down with just an absolute rocket against Chihuahua. Empire, of course, did lose to Chihuahua, but that was the 3rd goal for the Purple Boys, and it was a heck of a strike from Mr. Pacheco. And by the way, Pacheco, you're calling the games. How do you normally call it? Pacheco, right. Okay. And your moment of the week.
I love the MASL. I love the color, the characters, the flavor of this league. And one of my favorite things in the league is Chili Willy, the Monterey Flash mascot. I had the chance to meet him, get my picture taken with him back in 2018 at Arena Monterrey. I cherished that photo. And on Friday, Chili Willy made his first trip ever to the United States as part of a traveling party for the Flash to come to Pechanga Arena and watch the Flash Sockers match. He was in full regalia. He worked the crowd in the stands. All of us took pictures with Chili Willy. Absolutely love that man. An incredible ambassador for the sport and for the Flash. So Chili Willy in America for the first time is my moment of the week.
That's awesome. And of course, there's such a great history between San Diego and Monterey. The Sockers going down and playing in that intimidating atmosphere, and Monterey coming up and playing in San Diego. So good stuff on Chili Willy making the trip. I'm going to take the St. Louis overtime winner. As you mentioned, their last game of the season at the Family Arena. Not just because of the goal, but also announcer Joey Zanaboni almost losing his voice on the goal call. Joey definitely not lacking for energy, but just a great. I mean, the goal wasn't anything picturesque. You know, the header that made it in, but just good on the ambush. You know, never say die, and they're going to be interesting to watch, of course, as we close out the season, as they try to make a playoff push. Can they get it done? We have got to wrap things up there. Just a reminder, everyone, MASL Monday, every Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Sirius XM FC channel 157. And don't forget, you can catch us on Twitch, on MASL TV on YouTube, and all MASL games live and archived can be seen on Twitch. Craig, you are the man. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll do this again in the playoffs, brother. And you guys are going to be a lot of fun to watch down the stretch, especially against Empire coming up next Friday. Can't wait. Thank you.
And that game on Sirius XM with Nate Aberday and Paul Doherty on Friday night. Absolutely.
Thank you for the plug, buddy. Thank you for being on the show. You're the best, and we'll do it again soon.
Appreciate you.
Okay, and thank you for everyone for tuning in on Sirius and on MASL TV. I'm Alex Bastiavansky. I will talk to you next Monday.
Boris Pardo gets the fans on their feet here in San Diego, California. For the second straight year, the San Diego Sockers are the champions of the regular season.